Hey, what's up? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 100th episode of SimplyPodLogical.
Oh my God.
A simply logical podcast. Christine, I can't believe we made it.
Hello for the 100th time.
We were never canceled. Susan didn't cancel us.
Thank
Still
you,
on the
Susan.
air.
Shout out to Susan.
So, Christine, we got a special episode for people today.
Yeah.
A big one. This one might go a little long. We're going to do three things. We're going to reflect on the fact that we've recorded 99 of these, and this is the 100th. And answer some fan questions about the podcast. And then we have a little Ask Me Anything segment. And then the third piece is a very popular thing we do on the podcast has become these Reddit Am I the Asshole podcasts. So we're flipping it around today, and we got viewers, listeners to submit their own scenarios. So we're doing Are you the asshole? You. I see you.
We see you, and we're going to judge you. Yes. All in good fun, of course. But that'll be, the last segment.
All right,
So,
Christine.
I'm excited.
Any general thoughts before we just jump right into it?
How do we look? Do we look the exact same as when we recorded the first episode of SimplyPodLogical? The answer is yes, because we're wearing the exactly the same thing.
You maybe look 2 years older, a little more
Yeah.
disillusioned.
Well, yeah, the world has kind of crumbled since we first filmed the podcast. And I feel like a lot of people identify a picture or a video of themselves from 2 years ago and be like, life was just not the same. And we have a lot of video evidence of ourselves.
You sweet summer child.
From
you
a
don't
time
know what's
before,
coming.
right? Yeah.
Yeah.
I was wearing makeup,
Yeah.
That means nothing to anyone else, but to me, it changed things.
It's been a hard 2 years for a lot of people. And there was a point at which I thought we were going to stop doing the podcast. Maybe we should just drop this bomb on people. There was like 50 episodes in. I was basically suggesting to you, maybe we just wrap it up.
Why?
Because it wasn't what I think we originally thought it was going to be, I thought it was basically an excuse or an opportunity to interact with other people is what my original thinking was of the podcast.
But then 50 episodes in, living in quarantine, working and living with me, you got sick of me, is what you're saying.
Is that what I'm trying to dance around? No, but how many times can you just have a conversation with the same
100.
person? Yeah, and I wouldn't want this to get to the point where we're just having the same conversation over and over again, right?
I hear you.
I guess what we've talked about off camera is how much people enjoy this or consistently listen to this and how it's important to people. And I guess it's easy to lose sight of that. And while you're making something, you usually aren't thinking about that, right?
Mm-hmm. It's easy to forget the long-lasting impression that your words will have on people because you're just so preoccupied with, I got to film this for next week. Let's get it out. And then we got to plan for next week. So, yeah.
Okay. All right. That's meta enough. I mean, this whole podcast is pretty meta today.
Yeah.
Let's get into questions. How about that? All right. First one from Kira Johnston. What's the typical process that goes into creating a SimplyPodLogical episode? The decision of a topic, recording, editing, things like that. I'm curious to know how you make this happen behind the scenes.
I love these kinds of questions. And there was a lot of them. A lot of people. So Ben, here, this is our debate that we do behind the scenes. We debate whether or not something will be interesting or of value to discuss on the podcast. And I think sometimes we have different opinions on what that is. And maybe it's just where our interests lie. I find this kind of conversation about behind the scenes, how we produce it, do we edit it, and who does what really interesting. But you think it's really boring, dry content that people aren't going to care about.
Sometimes the question is more interesting than the answer. Here's
but
what I'll say.
But that's what you think, because you're not sitting on the other side, actually wondering how do they film three things and put it together and put it on the internet.
This is a fine question.
Okay.
We'll be having dinner on a Thursday night, and we're like, shit, the week's almost over already.
What's the next podcast? What's the next podcast? Yeah.
And then we'll basically just bounce ideas around, and then it's we try to record them on Fridays, but that almost never happens. They usually get recorded on Sunday. And then we do a quick edit of it on Monday just to bounce camera angles around and just listen to make sure we didn't say anything insane.
So what does edit mean? Because we don't actually edit. Right. Editing for most people, they think cutting up and moving parts around in a series of footage. That's not what we do. This is a continuous hour-long segment.
No. And I'm proud of the fact that like we don't really edit the podcast. I think it's important to just normalize, normal conversations. Not all the time are we going to say things perfectly.
Nope.
We're not always right, but it's okay to just in a conversation not be like perfect.
Yeah, but when we use the word edit in this context, we mean like produce it, which means importing video or audio footage from 5 different devices, because we have 3 cameras, the sound, and the cat cam. Cat cam's very important. Menchie's there. She's there for the 100th episode.
You're right. So
right now.
Editing is more like picking which of those 4 camera angles we're using, and then I'll
syncing the audio.
I'll sync the audio and do a few things to the audio, like put it through a compressor and things like that.
And I'll do more of the video, like the color correction. Anytime there's B-roll overlay, some of our social cards, we'll put that in. I make the thumbnails. You do all the uploading to like Spotify. You do all the audio uploading. I take care of the YouTube stuff. You do the timestamps in the description box.
Okay, this is all very technical, but I guess the more interesting thing might be that we just do this ourselves. I think it's very normal for people just to partner up with like some sort of production company. I think most people do it this way.
Yeah, most podcasts that you listen to, whether by influencers or not, they're produced by a company that produces podcasts. So whether that means like loaning studio space or just loaning like production efforts, so all those things we just said, to actually get it produced and sound and look good. Usually someone else does that, but in our case, we do 100% of it. We have never outsourced any of that. And that also means that we own our podcast. Like we own the rights to SimplyPodLogical.
Yeah, we have complete autonomy here. And one thing we haven't done a good job of is monetizing this podcast.
Yeah.
Was never a priority for us. Like there have been times we've played around with sponsors that have just like really made sense to you. Like when we've talked about oats or David's Oats Overnight or David's Tea. And that was just sort of like one-off things in conversations with those companies we already had a relationship with, right? The inbox is sort of full of companies. There are a lot of people who have asked to be sponsors of the podcast, and it's just, I don't know, not something we've really gotten into or are motivated to do. I think we're just happy to let this just be what it is mostly.
Yeah, if we had an agent or a production company producing this, like I don't think we would have an option. We'd probably have a sponsor or 3 sponsors every single episode, because that's how they make their money back. But for us, we're not as concerned with that. We've done sponsorships where it made sense or is kind of a trial, but as you may have noticed, like we barely had sponsors in the last while, and that's partly because like we're not that motivated to like get that money, just to be honest. And then the second part is maybe I don't care enough about it being because it's not necessarily a good fit. And then the third one is like we don't really have the time to spend managing, like vetting the sponsors, aligning it with topics. It prevents us from having a more free-flowing conversation. If sometimes the company needs to be able to watch the podcast to verify the ad read, but we didn't film it until Sunday, and they say they need 48 hours, and that's not enough time. So we're just like, okay, screw it. Like, it's not important enough to us then.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, let's move on. How did the idea of making a podcast come to be? I think I already sort of implied, like, I thought we would do a few episodes that were the 2 of us, and then it would be like traveling to North Carolina and doing a podcast with like Sophia and Tyler, or going back to LA and doing the podcast with someone else interesting we know. And so it'd be like excuses for trips, but also just getting to hear other people's perspectives on things. Because I've always been worried that there's just too much. At a certain point, it's just us bouncing back and forth. We agree with each other too much too, which I sometimes worry isn't as interesting. So sometimes I'll literally like just sort of gently disagree with you, and sometimes people get like really offended at that, I think. Anyway, like, yeah, I don't remember how long. What was this, 2 years ago? February
2020.
That's right. Is that your recollection too? Like, why did you think we were making a podcast?
We both wanted to do a podcast because it was finally a space for us to have longer form conversations about more serious topics. Because up until that point, like, yes, we would have a reflection moment, maybe at the end of a wish video or an education video where like 4 minutes of cut up us talking would be dedicated to like meaningful reflection. But beyond that, I never really had a space to expand on anything that I've messages I wanted to put across. And also, I never had a space to explain my life or feelings that people seem to be very interested in. And you never had a space either, because all the Simply Illogical content was about me and then you being roped into things. But finally, Simply Podlogical was something that was equally us.
Well,
and you wanted it. Like you grew up, you wanted to speak, you know. Grew up in the sense, yeah, you know what I mean, like on camera and
I know what you mean.
Adulthood.
And everything I do here is just the lens through which you should look at all of my participation in things is that Cristine will not stop working and is a workaholic.
Don't say that.
The best way of spending time with Cristine is to work with her.
Don't say that the only reason you did the podcast was for me. Like you come to enjoy this. Yeah, don't mislead people, because sometimes if you say something and you think it's funny, people will interpret it as truth and be like,
just
oh,
don't
that's
read
so
the comments.
sad.
We'll just close the computer.
Okay.
From Y2 Garcia, would you ever consider having any guests? Yes, we would consider having guests. We've talked about this. The main reason we haven't done it is because
COVID kind of ruined our plans.
But we've tried doing remote things before, and we're generally not a fan of it, right? The lack of intimacy when you're talking to someone through a computer screen with audio issues or a little bit of a delay, I don't think lends itself to the best sort of long-form conversation.
I mean, a lot of people do it, so I don't want to dismiss that. Like, it's definitely not a good thing. Of course it is. A lot of people have to work remotely and do things remotely. But I guess we figured, we have the ability to just do other topics then, for now.
Yes. Tough Ass Nails. Is there any topic you wanted to talk about in the podcast but then decided against it? Or any topic one of you wanted to talk about but the other didn't want to?
So sometimes we disagree on topics.
Yeah, Cristine wants to do every episode is like Grey's Anatomy. Let's just talk about Grey's Anatomy.
No, it's not true. I really like quizzes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
like
you do.
Whether they're stupid or serious, I find that quizzes can spark conversation and they're really interesting, and I like to know the result. And I think our personality quizzes or the political philosophy quiz, any of those were fun and interesting. But Ben, for some reason, hates them.
I think those are our worst podcasts.
He hates quizzes. Why?
It's like watching someone take an exam.
Yeah, but it's a good way to start conversations, because every time there's a question that's like, oh, interesting, let's think about that, right? Okay, I guess not.
Yeah,
we disagree.
Have we ever vetoed? We almost recorded. Did we even start recording one that was stupid BuzzFeed quizzes, and then we were like, this is just too stupid?
No.
Did that happen?
No.
I think we were gonna do that at one point. Anyway, yeah, I'm generally not a fan of the quizzes.
Ben doesn't like quizzes. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Is there any topics that you wanted to talk about, like hockey, that I didn't care about?
Hockey.
Sports podcast?
No, I think we talk about. To me, the tension is more if we're ever doing current events or more serious topics. Sometimes I think should we be just having this conversation in an echo chamber and just throwing our opinions around, or sometimes it's not clear exactly where the line is with should we really have someone very informed on this topic talk about it as opposed to just us? So we've generally sort of shied away from very serious, heavy conversations just because we think you have to be very, sort of careful and deliberate about what you're doing there.
Yeah, and that's really tough, because I know that a ton of requests from you guys for content is about a lot of serious topics, like mental health on a broad level. But I'm never going to do a podcast on mental health because A, I'm not a mental health expert. I'd be giving you the wrong idea. And B, even if I come at it from the perspective of my own journey and my own talk, which is fair and people do, I still feel so uncomfortable with the idea that my indirect advice could lead to someone making a decision that isn't right for them in their context. And then also, apart from that, it just makes me kind of feel uncomfortable to have this pressure on me that people expect me to talk in a passionate and meaningful way about mental health that's going to inspire them. And I'm not sure that I'm the best person for that. Yes. And I'm just being totally honest. So I see those calls for me all the time, talk about mental health, and it's just it makes me anxious.
It's not good for your mental health.
It's not good for me. And I'm not trying to make people feel bad. I understand why they want to hear me discuss that, but it makes me personally really uncomfortable.
Yeah,
so we
that's fair.
while those topics do like kind of come up in certain contexts of am I the asshole questions or whatever, maybe I think some people have thought that we didn't get into it sometimes when we should have. Like people will call us out for, well, you didn't explain that it could have been a mental health issue. And while I know that and was probably thinking that on the spot, it wasn't a part of the conversation that I wanted to go in, that I was comfortable going in. So
Yeah, and that's totally fair.
that's why.
All right. And Lu Lilu, why did Ben stop inviting people to the podcast?
Yeah. Don't you want guests, Ben? What the hell?
Did he run out of people? So I didn't stop inviting people to podcast, Christine.
What?
So like after we're done the podcast, I'll just take my phone out and I'll just go, hey, Phil DeFranco, sorry, we just finished filming the podcast. We were going to dial you in, but we ran out of time. I go, hey,
Really?
Eva Gutowski, are you there? Sorry, we were going to have you on the podcast, but we ran out of time.
Okay. Yes, Ben.
The
I
truth,
don't have evidence of this.
No?
I guess I left.
the truth is I just felt too much pressure to come up with a new person. Every
Is
week.
it?
It was a lot
The
of
truth
pressure.
is you forgot there was no more YouTubers in your brain.
I stopped watching YouTube, so I stopped knowing
said.
names to mention. All right, Christine, ask me anything. Next one from Christina Ripley. Hello, Ben and Christine. Love your podcast. Congrats on episode 100. I have some general questions to ask you, maybe as a reflection of how far you've come with the podcast. I feel like we've gotten to know you two more throughout the past 2 years. It's been so interesting to hear your point of view on many topics, as well as enjoy the laughs on the Am I the Asshole and other Reddit topics. What's something that people always seem to misunderstand about you? Looking back on the past 2 years of the podcast, is there something you wish you would have changed about the format, the topics? What other topics you want to cover but feel is not right for the podcast? Thanks again. Thank you, Christina. Christine, do you feel misunderstood?
I'm so misunderstood. I don't know.
But I think, yeah, you've already alluded to this, that like the podcast allowed, I think you more than me, to expand on things in a way that showed that you weren't just like dumb troom nail lady, right?
Even though that's fun. Like there's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing
too.
wrong with dumb troom.
Yeah, and it's not like
Yeah.
having to prove to the internet like I'm smart or anything like that. But yeah, a space to have more real adult conversations about things.
I grew up. One thing that does bother me, although I try not to let opinions on the internet bother me because I know that those people don't actually know me. But I will say that something that I think people misunderstand about us is occasionally in a podcast we'll be talking and I will struggle with how I want to put something, whether it's like a word I'm just having a hard time saying or a sentence that I can't get out the way that I am thinking about it. This is just always something I deal with. I think it's just like performance anxiety and I'm just not a good public speaker, to be honest. I'm just not. I make stupid edited videos. Was my specialty. But whenever I do that, Ben will sometimes help me out. Like he'll interject and continue my sentence because he knows where I was going because he knows me so well or we'd already discussed this. And he's honestly just really good at summarizing. I mean, like that's what I think. I'm complimenting you right
Thank
now.
you.
Like you are good. And occasionally people have misinterpreted those moments in the comments as Ben speaking over me. And they will suggest that like you're one of those guys who speaks over their woman and you need to learn to let me speak. And that really bothers me because that's not what's happening. And I understand from an outsider view, maybe you think that's what it was, but I'm telling you with great confidence, I struggle with speech sometimes. It's not really something that I've talked about. Maybe if you watch my stream or you watch every podcast, you notice it a little bit, but it sucks. And Ben does that to help me out. He also just kind of like knows intuitively from knowing me for 12 years where I'm going or what I mean.
Yeah, I appreciate you saying this. We don't need to draw more attention to it if you don't want to talk about it, but like
No, I don't mind my speech problems because I'm saying it in part to clear up. Like Ben doesn't try and take my spotlight or talk over me. Like it really bothers me when people say that shit about you because that's not you or your personality, and that's not what's happening.
Chris, I'm fine.
And
These comments don't bother.
Okay, but it bothers me because
Okay.
it's like that's fucking stupid. And the problem is with comments on the internet. Yes, I could just ignore them. But what happens is people write comments, other people see them and don't necessarily analyze or watch that clip for themselves. And then they just decide that conclusion is correct. And people will be like, yeah, I see what you mean, even though they maybe didn't. Or they'll just repeat that sentiment elsewhere. All of a sudden, someone says it on Facebook. All of a sudden, someone projects it on my Instagram. And then it's like, what? Like, that's why I don't like the impact of comments. It's not because I can't ignore them. It's because other people read them and then just be like, you're right, without actually coming to the conclusion themselves.
Yeah, it's like some people will click on a Reddit post, won't read the article it linked to. They'll only read other people's comments about it. And the comments are what they use to interpret the source material.
Well, the comments just reinforce the title. And all of a sudden, if you Google something, then that's what you get.
Some people don't, like what you're saying, some people don't even watch the video. They're just looking at the comments to make up their mind about the content.
And people do that about this podcast sometimes too. I mean, it's normal. Sure. You scroll down in the comments and you're like, what are people saying? So if one person says that and then a couple people agree and then they just start talking about their experiences with maybe in their other lives, men talking over them, which happens. But everyone just interprets that as, wow, Ben must be a dick then. And it kind of sucks.
Must be. Maybe sometimes.
I feel like that's been widely misunderstood.
I appreciate you saying that.
Because I can't speak properly.
Well, you like sometimes I'll see you're about to stutter, so I'll just like step in, right?
I know, but because you're nice, like you know that it helps me. It relieves my anxiety because you know I'm like gonna fuck up that word, or you know I'm just like I can't fucking say it, and you know in my brain I'm like screaming for help for you.
Yeah, we're energetically aligned.
We
here.
are.
From J. Puri, 100. That's awesome, guys. Congratulations. I really love getting to know Ben more. Really? I remember when all we knew about him was that he'd bring you tea. I don't have a question, but I'd suggest you guys have banana tacos in celebration.
Wouldn't you love that? Your defining characteristic, bananas. We'll put them in everything.
I'd love tacos tonight, but maybe we just skip the banana part.
Well, we're gonna make hummus on Wednesday. On stream. That's
for
your birthday, because hummus is the other thing.
I told Christine, I don't want a birthday cake. I just want a big bowl of hummus.
But I like
this
comment.
Made with love. Made with your love.
Of course. I like this comment because I feel like there's a lot of them. A lot of people have witnessed you be super shy in my early videos. And then over the years, evolve into someone who like has the confidence to speak about whatever it is. And I wonder if people see or hope to see a little bit of themselves in you. Because maybe they are experiencing like being shy.
I'm still.
You're still shy?
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's not like you just. That anxiety and shyness doesn't really go away. I don't think either of us are people who like love a ton of attention on us. I think you just get more used to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I appreciate seeing comments like this. They're weird for me to acknowledge. I don't take compliments well.
Yeah.
So this is just making me more uncomfortable.
but it's good. Like I like acknowledging this. It does show growth, but also your comfort level has changed, right? Like you've gotten more comfortable.
Yeah.
And so have I. Like I was weird and cringy in some of my early videos because I was like nervous. Like I don't know. Just like that is how I act when I'm nervous.
We've definitely gotten better at doing this.
At having conversations.
Yes. Yeah. Do we listen to each other?
I think so. We listen back to the podcast.
Yeah.
So we're listening to each other like 3 times.
That's a lot of listening to each other. From Gina Beck 79, I would like if Cristine would talk about her nail polish collection and if she thinks she will ever use any of it again. I personally would still love and cherish my collection even if I didn't use it, so no judgment on that at all. I know that Cristine has said that there's no reason to use other polish when she can create and be excited about her own brand, so I'm hoping she would talk a bit about this.
So it's not that I have no reason to use other polish. It's truly that my hands are so
occupied.
They're so busy being occupied. They're almost stuttered with the word "be" again.
Yeah.
It's like, see, you knew what I was gonna say. My hands are so busy being occupied by testing, prototyping, shooting for upcoming collections, swatching, or wearing it to demo it once it's out that I literally have no more nails left, to the point that I'm even swatching and prototyping on Ben. Like we're even doing that because my hands are occupied with something. Well, that's not a prototype. That exists. Those are your favorite cremes though, that we were taking pictures of.
Yes.
Anyways, but it doesn't change the fact that my wall of 2,000 bottles of nail polish is such a meaningful collection to me that I will always cherish. And there's something about the whole wall there that has an entire history behind it, because it's how I've always filmed like my main channel videos. It's how every single founding piece of content I've made has been delivered to the world in front of a wall of nail polish. And I'm never throwing any of it out. That's your question. Okay. I feel like even the next place that we move, we're going to build a space.
Oh, okay.
Where I'm going to be able to continue to display my
whole wall,
my wall of
an
nail
even
polish.
bigger wall.
Well, yeah, it always needs to grow.
They're like little trophies in a way.
Yeah, well, I'm a collector.
Yeah.
I'm a collector of things that I love in many different colors. I have cat ears in like 27 colors. I have this hoodie in like 16 different colors. I have nail polish in 2,000 different bottles, you know?
But I think you're alluding to something really interesting, though, that like some of them almost have like memories tied to them. Like that they symbolize something more than just little bottles of paint, I think.
It's like songs that kind of reflect a time of your life. If you think back to like that Death Cab for Cutie album from 2006.
Transatlanticism.
You're like, I remember that time of my life.
Yeah.
That's how I am with nail polish. So there's certain shelves that have certain eras of my life that remind me of when I first started doing nail tutorials, or when I bought those like expensive, stupid Christian Louboutin ones.
Sure.
Or, you know, when I remember getting PR, I definitely remember which bottles on there were from PR, and I was like so excited to get China Glaze PR or whatever it was.
Sure.
So yeah, like I cherish them all, but I just don't practically have the time to be using them because I'm constantly doing stuff for Holo Taco.
Good answer, Simply. And from Jora LH, Ben, I miss your Bentendo videos on YouTube. I know times have changed, but are we likely to see them again at some point?
Who remembers Bentendo?
I can't make any promises, Georgia, but there was a pattern to when I would upload videos. I'm not sure if you noticed.
Write it in the comments below in case some people don't know this obscurity.
Circle the calendar, right? All right. Thank you for your Ask Me Anything questions. Now we're going to shift into the... Yes?
There were way more Ask Me Anything and podcast questions. So just want to like thank you guys for sure for, you know...
You're right. There is a lot. And even on this... So how we're going to end the podcast now is with these Are You the Asshole scenarios. We got hundreds of submissions through this anonymous Google form you created, to the point where I wonder if we can have just subsequent episodes, or maybe even on stream, just open it up to...
Because they're good.
Yes.
Like, there's some interesting ones. I'm like, who are you people? It's so fascinating.
Who are these people? All right, Cristine, first one. Am I the asshole for not wishing a happy birthday to those who did not wish me a happy birthday on my birthday?
I love this question.
We're starting out strong.
It's petty as fuck.
Cristine, out of principle, if someone didn't wish you happy birthday, are you remembering that for the next few months? And then when their birthday rolls around, you're like deliberately not wishing them happy birthday?
As a rule, I don't wish someone a happy birthday unless my calendar reminds me.
Oh.
Because I don't remember. Like, I don't remember.
Would you delete them out of your calendar if they didn't wish you?
I don't care that much.
Life is too short to go through.
I definitely would not do this out of spite. I wish people happy birthday if my phone reminds me. I'm sorry if that makes me seem like I don't care. But like, I really need these kinds of reminders because I feel like I don't just organically remember when someone's birthday is. Unless they like tell me constantly. And they're like, remember, Cristine, like your birthday's coming up. Sure, you're going to remind me.
So like, I don't think this person's an asshole per se. I think it's petty. And it's like, just recognize some people care about birthdays more than others, right?
Yeah, that is
just because it's meaningful to you doesn't mean it's meaningful to someone else.
Or maybe they're just not friends, which is like fine. Like maybe they didn't wish you happy birthday because like they're not really your friend, so then you're not their friend either. So you don't have to wish them happy birthday if you just don't talk.
Or maybe you're an adult and you don't care about birthdays
or maybe you're 33 years old and who gives a fuck?
Would I stop being friends with someone because they don't wish me a happy birthday?
No.
Like, no.
Yeah.
Like, there's not much of a friendship there if that's the case, right?
I mean, has it ever bothered you if someone forgot your birthday?
No.
I feel like my dad forgot my birthday like once. And
I remember that.
But I gave him shit for it, and then it was funny. Like, whatever.
Am I the asshole? I have a nail art Instagram with around 650 followers, and I used to follow back every nail art account that followed me. But it got to the point where I was following nearly 450 people, Every morning I would spend like 15 minutes liking every single post just because I felt bad and guilty if I didn't. Over the course of a couple of days, I ended up unfollowing a lot of inactive accounts or accounts that didn't follow me back. I guess they must have noticed the number go down, but this random person I'd never talked to before DM me saying I shouldn't unfollow people, especially the people that gave my posts so much support. I did try to make sure not to unfollow anyone that did support me, and I know that might sound really bad and selfish, but I don't know. I kind of feel bad about it. You shouldn't feel bad about it. But the sort of politics or sensitivities around following and unfollowing people is an interesting thing, I think, right?
Reading this like puts a pit in my stomach because it reminds me of that time where there was this weird expectation on Instagram to do like follows for follows, and that was just what you had to do. I don't think that's how Instagram kind of operates these days or what the expectation is, but I could be wrong. And there is kind of that guilt, especially with the first part that the poster said about every morning they'd spend 15 minutes liking every single post because they felt bad and guilty if they didn't. And I feel that from back in the day when I finally had to like let go because it's impossible. It truly is impossible to like and show support for everyone that's showing you support on a platform like this as you're naturally growing.
Especially as you get more successful.
It's creating an unrealistic expectation on yourself. It's like when I tried to reply to every fan mail. Yeah. And that got absolutely ridiculous. So that I had to accept that that's impossible. And I feel like it's a similar thing here. You have to accept and remove this burden that you kind of put on yourself, that you have to like every single post that goes by to prove your support, or else people are going to guilt you. First of all, I think it's wrong for people to make you feel bad because you decided to unfollow accounts that you're no longer interested in or that you only followed out of guilt. But to preempt this entire issue, I would recommend never setting expectations like that where you must follow someone in return. I don't think you have to unless you made a promise, which is like those follow for follow agreements, which I don't really think is of value because you should really just be following people whose art you want to see.
That can be value to accounts that are trying to grow in size early on when they're first establishing. There's a reason people do that, right?
Yeah, but then you just have empty followers. Like you want people who like your art, who are following you for your nail stuff. I mean, I think that's what you should want.
Sure. I guess I just really wish we would get over this idea. Like I see it working in both directions. This idea, like this obligation to follow people, but also like the expectation that
if you
follow someone, that means like you support or endorse them or things like that. Like I've noticed some weird things lately where like someone will be like, I notice X person follows X person on Twitter, which must means they agree with this other person's opinion on this, that, and whatever. Just people who get hung up on this, just like...
I mean, well, to be fair, I think the context really matters there.
Sure.
I think sometimes I can see their point. Other times, I think you're kind of reaching.
Yeah, okay, you're right.
That is context. It really depends, yeah.
But I just think putting so much weight on who you are or aren't following on social media, I just think is not really a healthy thing.
But this poster isn't really about the optics of following a particular individual. It's just about the optics of unfollowing someone because you realize you've followed 400 accounts and it's clogging your feed, and you followed people who you didn't really necessarily want to see, and then people are guilting you when you unfollow. I think it's really unfortunate that people even like pay attention to who unfollows them.
That's kind of what I'm saying. Just
that's
like
kind of unhealthy on its own.
It's not that deep in either direction necessarily, right?
Yeah.
Like I might want to follow someone I don't agree with, but just because it leads to interesting dialogue or a conversation or a topic I'm interested in, even if I disagree with that person. Or, maybe I just don't want my feed full of a bunch of stuff, even from people I like, just because they're the kind of person, I like Manny Mua. He's a nice guy. And he always likes like thirst trap photos of guys on Twitter. And I'm like, my feed is just full of hot guys.
And you don't want to see them?
So if I unfollowed Manny, it wouldn't be because I don't like Manny.
But the difference is Manny is not paying attention or giving a shit if you unfollow him because it's like, why would he care? But this person is saying that the people notice because there are also smaller accounts, and it hurts their feelings to feel like another nail account thought they weren't worthy of continuing to follow. So while I can understand that might be perceived as like, oh, my feelings are hurt, I don't think that person should proceed to put that guilt back on the person who decided to unfollow for whatever reason. Also, sometimes Instagram just like mysteriously unfollows people from people. It's happened to me a few times because I swear to, I'm like, I swear I was following this nail artist for 3 years and it says I'm not following. So I bet you people have thought that I've unfollowed them over the years when I swear to God, occasionally I'm just like, why does it say I don't
most
follow
people like at your level will often have like burner accounts or alt accounts.
them? I don't.
You don't? You're just
I
throwing that
literally
out
just
there?
use Simply
Even if you did,
Logical.
you wouldn't tell people.
Yeah, but I swear
I
to
know
God,
you're
I don't.
being honest, but like I know a lot of
I
people
have
who
20
have
social media accounts. Okay, I don't have room for more.
a lot of people have fake accounts so they can only follow their friends or people they actually want to interact
yeah.
with, even
Good
if they're
point.
following thousands of fan accounts on like a main account, right?
I follow like some fans and stuff.
Sure,
But
I do
don't,
too.
I'm not that, I don't care that much about what my like feed looks like. I'm not like upset, you know. My feed is like kind of all over the place, but like whatever.
Your feed is a garbage bowl.
All right, just to help this person out and anyone
Do
who
it.
feels like that, I just want to remind you that the reason why you're on Instagram, presumably posting nail art, is so you can share that with other people. So try as hard as you can not to let other people making you feel bad for whatever reason to affect you more than it took them the time to write it out.
And if strategically following people is helping your little nail art channel, or not little, your nail art channel get more traction and attention, should you not just have a separate account that is for like your primary feed of things you're interested in, and your nail art account is more of a...
You could, yeah.
You can just set up multiple accounts for this reason, right?
Yeah, you totally could. Just for viewing. One's for viewing and one's for your business, your nail art.
Yeah, you could look at it
business,
that way too.
That's a good idea.
All right, 3. I know people will get upset about this, but I really dislike kids. Cristine, did you write this one? Everything about them, even when I was a kid, I did not like kids.
When I was a kid, I did. When I was an adult, I did not like adults.
So I struggle with anxiety and depression, and having been around kids, they are loud, obnoxious, annoying, and have no respect for boundaries. I don't have the mental bandwidth to be around them longer than I have to. My sister has a boy who is now 6 years old. I'm not really involved in his life, and I don't really feel a connection to him. My family gets upset that I'm not interested in being involved in as an aunt to my nephew. My mom and sister constantly send me photos and tell me stories about him that I get tired of and I don't really care about. I don't wish him harm, but I have no interest in being in his life. From my perspective, someone else decided to have a child, which I had no part in. Therefore, there should be no expectation for me to do anything. Am I the asshole? This is you have no obligation.
I think that, yeah, there's 2 conversations to
Yeah.
be had in here. The first one is, it's cool if you don't like kids. Like,
Yes, many people don't like kids.
I don't like kids. I find them annoying, kind of stupid, you know? Like, babies are stupid. Didn't we have this conversation?
When we were first dating,
Yeah.
we went to a Mexican restaurant in the Glebe, Felina's. This little girl walks up to our table, and she walks up to Cristine, like very shy, but like clearly wanting to speak to you. And I remember you look at me and you just whisper like, get it away from me.
I was like, what do they
What is
want?
it doing here?
This is before YouTube, so it's not like a child recognized me, just to be
No,
clear. Yeah.
yes. But yeah, some people just aren't good with kids, aren't comfortable around kids, find them like weird little alien things, right?
Yeah.
And that's okay.
It kind of, for me, they kind of frustrate me. Like, I don't know. This is my personality. I don't have patience for that kind of stuff. But
Yes.
I think so you have every right to never want your own children, and you have every right to say, I'm not taking responsibility for someone else's decision to have children.
Sure.
Absolutely, 100%. But then the other part of this that even me, who has admittedly said I don't really like kids, have no interest in them, I feel kind of bad about the situation because it does sound like they're basically saying they have zero interest in knowing the child. What did they say, niece
Their
or nephew?
nephew.
Yeah.
You're right. Like your sister,
Yeah, like if my
a
sister...
big part of her life now is having this child. And it would be it is pretty unusual to say, like, I don't even want to know anything about your family.
Yeah.
Right?
Like if my sister had a kid,
Yes.
which she does not currently, to be clear, and
Okay.
even though I don't like kids, and I'd probably be like, I'm never wiping your kid's ass. Like, I would be like, sorry, Jen,
the first thing that
that's
comes to
your
mind.
fucking job. Like,
Yeah.
and we'd joke about that or whatever. I I don't think I would isolate myself from them, from the child on purpose and never know who they are. Like, I'd want to know my sister's kid, but I also at the same time don't want responsibility for any form of like assisted parenting. But I'd want to know my sister's kid, and maybe I don't want to hold it and kiss it all over because that's just not really my style. I don't like people like, it's weird that people think you want to hug and kiss their babies. Yes. I've always been uncomfortable with that. At work, it happened all the time. People would bring their babies into work and like shove them in your face and be like, "Don't you want to touch my baby?"
I do not want to hold your baby.
I do not want to touch your baby. I do not want to hold your baby. I will look at it and nod
from a distance,
but I do not want to snuggie your baby.
Yeah, we might be missing some context here. Like, we don't know this person's situation with their own mental health. Like we already talked about, we're not comfortable speculating on. So maybe there's some deeper thing going on here. But yeah, it seems like a pretty severe reaction to be like, I don't even want to have any awareness of what's going on in their life, because your sister's life, it is an incredibly important part of your sister's life, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while it's okay, you don't have to be like the doting aunt, or did I say aunt? Yeah. Aunt. That is expected to be super involved and take them shopping. Like, you don't have to fill that stereotypical role that, I don't know, you've probably seen in movies about the cool aunt or whatever. You don't have to do that, but I imagine it would probably hurt your sister's feelings if you just said, I'd never want to see your son and I'm never going to come over and I want nothing to do with the child. That is a severe response. So I just hope that maybe if there's some, if there's an issue, like this aversion to children, if it's that much to the extent that it's like even your family's children you don't want to look at or know, maybe there's a discussion to be had with someone. Maybe there's something related to past trauma or something that can explain and unpack that you might need to seek some help or assistance to figure out.
Maybe. Or maybe kids just are loud, obnoxious, and annoying. And maybe you'll be a cool aunt when the kid's a little bit older.
Maybe you'll change your mind.
Loud, obnoxious,
maybe you will
annoying.
change your mind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next one. I, female 29, pay for a premium account so I don't get YouTube ads.
Oh!
And can watch this silly docu-series. I don't want anyone to use my account and mess up my algorithm. My boyfriend of 11 years... 28 years old guy, was surprised how passionate I was about this. I'm usually easygoing, but how firm I was about getting his own premium if he doesn't want ads to cast to the TV from his account and add his account to Smart TV. We joked about it, and it isn't serious, but as an overthinker, I've thought about getting your input each time you do an Am I the Asshole episode. They did add a little note here that they basically figured out that they could get a family account so it wouldn't mess up their algorithm. Okay. But I still think this is interesting in that technology is just creating new problems for couples to overcome, in that, messing up your algorithm, your recommendations. Yeah, I don't want my YouTube page full of Grey's Anatomy
I don't
clips.
want Donkey Kong bullshit all over my page.
What do you think my home... This is fun. Okay. Tell me what you think is on my YouTube homepage.
Hockey. Yeah. Wrestling.
Wrestling?
Oh, no? UFC stuff? Like
not really.
Men not wearing like clothes in a ring. Is that wrestling? I feel like I see those visuals.
Okay, yeah.
Some food stuff, because you watch like Claire Saffitz.
Yes. Dessert person.
Sophia and Tyler live streams.
I do watch those pretty regularly, yeah. This is all good. You see, you know my viewing.
I know you.
Okay, what is on you? You've got some workout stuff, leggings. And
Are you thinking of my Instagram?
Think of your YouTube. Okay. If I were to open your browser right now and go to the YouTube homepage, what's on your homepage? So there's some workout stuff. Ladies working out.
Yeah.
There's probably Grey's Anatomy clips.
No, I don't watch those on YouTube.
There's maybe some Sophia and Tyler stuff. There's maybe naked men wrestling in rings, probably. No, none of that at all.
No.
Hassan, Twitch. I mean, you consume media from multiple platforms, so it's harder to just limit it to one.
I get a lot of political stuff after watching a lot of stuff to do with the convoy and then the ongoing war. So
those
that's kind of my
streams.
feed right now. Yeah.
Okay.
Depressing feed, actually.
You knew my feed better than I knew yours.
Yeah, I guess you don't know me that well.
I guess not.
I'm so misunderstood. Okay, so how do we answer
did we comment on this? Yeah, I think it's reasonable to not want to let a person, even your partner, mess up your algorithm. I don't think that makes you a monster.
The algorithm is yours. It is proprietary to you.
Yes.
I mean, I get it. And
they're selling your data, not you and your partners.
It's good that YouTube and like Netflix or these companies have things like family accounts for this reason.
You have profiles,
right? So you can have like 5 devices signed in or whatever and still share, but not mess up the algorithm. So usually there's a solution to this, but I do appreciate like if you're paying for something independently and you want the feed and the recommendations to be that because it's yours, like, yeah, it's your partner's decision to go get their own.
Yeah, make them watch ads.
Yeah.
All right, 5. Am I the asshole for kicking out my sister after she ate my daughter's cheesecake?
Are you sure this wasn't like something you pulled from actual Reddit? Am I the asshole?
No, we've got...
Because these are too interesting and good. Like, it's, I'm like, I can't believe it.
This is for real. And it might even be a Cheesecake Factory cheesecake.
Employee?
Do you know the Cheesecake Factory? No, the cheesecake might be from the Cheesecake Factory.
Okay.
Actually, no, they made it. Let's read it.
Okay.
Ben and Cristine, a month ago, I was making a cheesecake for my daughter's 8th birthday party. If you didn't know, cheesecake is very time-consuming to make.
I did not know.
I did not. I've never made a cheesecake.
What?
Yeah, I've never made a cheesecake.
Uh-oh.
Is it very time? We should make one on stream.
Why? Why would you say that? It says
10-hour stream.
10 hours including rest
About
time.
10 hours including rest time. 3 days before the party, I started to make the cheesecake expecting a day's worth of baking, but after some complications, it took 2 whole days to finish.
2 days?
That would be a long stream. The morning of the party, my sister came over to help set up. Around noon, I went to grab the birthday cheesecake from the fridge only to find an almost empty dish. I was infuriated. I told my sister that she needed to leave the house immediately. And even though I didn't specify not to eat the cheesecake, she should have assumed that it was for the party. My mom said that if my sister had to leave, she would also be leaving. I told them to go ahead. I had no time to buy something else as kids were already arriving. Not only was my daughter disappointed because of her cheesecake-less party, I was also upset because of all the time I'd put into it. The next day, I received angry text messages from both my mom and sister. They said they were in shock at how dramatic I'd been and that I should apologize immediately for forcing them out of my daughter's party. I told them I would not be apologizing because I wasn't in the wrong. My mom keeps in touch with me from time to time, but my sister hasn't spoken to me since. Did I go too far?
Why didn't the sister just replace the cheesecake?
Who shows up to a kid's birthday party and right before everyone shows up, eats an entire cake they find in the fridge?
Yeah, I'm also like confused how one person ate the entire cake in not that much time.
Yes.
It's also like not your house, not your food. I guess like that's the point. You don't go to someone else's house and eat.
It's your family. It would be like going to Jen's house and like eating out an entire cake out of the fridge before
that's
a
clearly
party.
For like 8 people. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
This is
weird.
really bizarre. And like, I get the mom wanting to be like, I just don't want my kids to fight, but she seems to be taking the side of the daughter who ate the cake.
Okay, so let's say the sister made the mistake and ate the cake and truly did not know. Let's give the sister the benefit of the doubt, did not know it was for the children's birthday. Okay, replace the cheesecake. You know, you'll have to go to a store. I know it's not the same thing. And they should apologize for, oops, I ate the cheesecake.
Yeah, rush out and get a replacement cake.
Rush out and get a
If
replacement cake.
you are a decent person, that's what you would do.
That's what I would do if I accidentally ate your cheesecake intended for your brother's party. I would be like, fuck, I'm an idiot. Let me go buy you one. I know it's not the same. I'm sorry, but here's something.
But also, like, this is where there's like a difference between a mistake and just like negligence, right? It's not like she slipped and ate an entire cake out of the fridge. It's like, there's a reasonable expectation you don't eat a cake in the fridge right before a party entirely to yourself too. That's just a selfish thing to do in general, even if there's no birthday party. Would you go over to someone's house and eat like
someone else's cake? Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot, right?
That is weird. I mean, maybe their family has different boundaries and they like go over and eat out of each other's fridge, whatever's in it all the time.
It's
like,
their family tradition.
If that's the case, then maybe it's different. But even if, okay, they accidentally tripped and ate the whole cake and didn't know, like, just replace it. I know it's not the same. It was a lot of work, and that will never be replaced. But to at least put that effort in to avoid the next conflict, which is a prolonged conflict as a result of this, that could have helped alleviate the situation. But I guess we're kind of too late for that now. Mm-hmm. Now we're fighting over lost cheesecake. So what to do?
Yeah, the sister that ate the cake owes the apology, not host mom of party. So are we going to make a cheesecake on stream now, or what do you think?
I mean, like, I don't know. What if we run into this issue?
Including why? What takes so long about a cheesecake?
Letting it rise.
So you just have like we could just go to the Cheesecake Factory, because let's be real,
we would just buy a cheesecake.
Let's just go to the Cheesecake Factory.
Oh my god.
All right, next one. My wife frequently burns herself with hot water from the faucet in the kitchen.
Burns is in quotation marks, by the way.
Yes, as if it's like, oh, okay, it's hot, but you didn't really burn yourself. We don't have a boiling water tap, and she's never actually had a burn. She doesn't look at the handle to see if it's set to hot or cold before turning it on and sticking her hands in. Given that it's a single handle to control the temperature and the flow, it's easy to tell if it's dispensing hot or cold water. She thinks the faucet should always be set to cold when turning it off. I think it's the next user's responsibility to glance at the top handle and set your desired temperature when turning it on. Cristine, who's right? This is like toilet seat up or down, right? This is the kind of thing that do people think about?
I have never thought about this.
I agree with Poster that it is the responsibility of you turning on a tap. You're the one who is responsible for whether it is hot or cold.
But when have you ever turned on a tap and immediately the water was scalding?
That could be a case if someone just had it on.
But usually,
really
like,
hot.
I'm not a plumber, but it's my understanding that, like, even if it was left on at the hottest, it's still going to take, like, a while to get back super hot.
No, it depends if you have, like...
Right?
This isn't interesting, but it depends what sort of boiler you have or a hot water tank. Sometimes...
I guess we have a bad one.
Sometimes hot water can be instant.
Instant? Really?
Yeah,
I've never experienced turning on a tap and it being burning hot instantly. Like, I think, like, you slowly realize, oops, that was too hot, but it was gradual.
Maybe the hot water line to your sink is also feeding, like, a dishwasher that's right there that already is calling really hot water. So the hot water would come basically right away.
So you have a really effective hot water boiler, I guess. Okay. Congratulations.
Let's not get hung up on that detail.
I'm just like, it has never happened.
Who's responsible for knowing whether the water's hot or cold?
I mean, first I would do a test of reasonability. So did the person who leave it know that that's how this hot water boiler works? Do they know it's a risk that it does get super hot right away?
Does that matter?
Yes. Because if you're like me, and maybe, I don't know if this is average, but like if I have I've never experienced that. I wouldn't know to do that if I'm in someone else's house.
You expect when you're turning a tap on, it's not instantly boiling.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Or very
I don't know if like everyone in the comments is gonna be like, you're so wrong, Cristine, but I've never done that in my life. So if I went to someone else's house, that wouldn't cross my mind. It would be truly an accident if I did it. However, if I live in a house and that happens all the time and I'm constantly like just leaving it on hot anyways, then I think I would be in the wrong.
I think responsibility is on the user. But
what if you didn't know?
You turn it on and then you...
Did you have knowledge?
Did I have knowledge of what?
Prior knowledge that was an issue.
Every time I turn on the tap...
This is just like a criminal justice question, Ben.
No, it's my response. I turn on the tap and then I check whether it's hot or cold. Yeah.
Well, for your purposes, but when you go to leave it, do you think about the next person?
No, I do not. I only think about it when I turn it on for the first time. I assume...
So you would be an asshole in this situation if you left it on hot with disregard for the next person.
Well, I don't think that makes me an asshole. I think it's always the responsibility of the person turning it on to check whether it's hot or cold.
Okay.
So when I turn it off, it may have just been hot and I turn it off still hot. I think the next person has the responsibility.
Mm-hmm. But we also live in a house where it's never going to be instantly hot. So you're not risking my life. If this was a life-risking burn...
water's not coming out of the tap that hot anyway.
Yo, let's debate this forever.
Do you really want to get it?
We're going to die on this hill.
Check the temperature of how hot our hot water is?
I mean, like, okay, practical advice. Maybe there's something you can do to adjust the hot water boiler so that it doesn't get super hot immediately. Actually, and it takes longer to heat up.
You know, I did that in our place.
Wait, what? So it did used to get super hot?
Yeah, I had to adjust it down because I was finding it did get, like... so hot that when it was coming out of the tap, like it was like instantly
but it wasn't
steamy.
Instant.
It was instantly very hot sometimes, yeah.
Why didn't you tell me these things?
Well, it's because like other appliances or other systems are also calling hot water from the same boiler.
Okay.
This isn't.
Let's
not talking about water boilers. It's okay.
Communication is key, I think. Communication.
Yeah. All right. I'm a 25-year-old female. My boyfriend, who's a 27-year-old guy, and I have our home offices set up next to each other. I often like to do my nails after I log off from work. Sometimes while he is in his office, I do my nails so often that I've grown pretty desensitized to the smell, so I don't really notice how bad it is anymore. My boyfriend, however, is bothered by it in the next room. He asked me to close the door and open the window, but it's really cold out, and I don't want to do it in a space with no ventilation. Am I the asshole? Cristine, it just occurred to me.
I guess I'm a big asshole.
It just occurred to me that I am also desensitized to nail polish, I think, at this point.
And so your boyfriend will be too. Posters, whatever.
Yes. You just haven't painted your nails around the boyfriend.
You just need to paint your nails more often.
That is the answer here. I think so.
Okay. We're joking, but like.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to have a ventilated area doing it.
Yes.
I think cracking a window is a big part of that. And I think you could handle a little bit of cold cracking a window.
Alternatively, if painting your nails is going to be like a long-term thing and an investment that you want to make into your,
your nails. An investment.
Well, I'm just saying there is another solution. You can buy an air purifier. They're not the cheapest. Like they do cost some money, but that is a solution to at least show like you're willing to put some effort and understanding into your partner's concern for the fumes or the smell, and having an air purifier won't change the temperature in your room, but it will help clean the air. So there's that. That's something you could do that I think your partner would appreciate that effort.
It's a good solution. Mm-hmm. It could be an expensive one.
Yeah.
We have pretty nice air purifiers for this reason, but we can justify that, right?
Well, it's a business expense.
It is a business expense.
Ben loves those business expenses.
But yeah.
But okay, I'm trying to be sensitive. Like, yes, I do understand that someone who has never painted their nails or been around nail polish probably goes like, oh my God, that smells awful. So you do want to try and be respectful and not paint it in their space. And because you are limited to the new era of working from home and working beside each other in your new lived space, because this is just literally life now, there will be some compromises. So maybe it's not painting it right when he's right there and doing it after, or maybe it's getting an air purifier or cracking a little bit of a window. It's making some kind of effort to take your partner's concerns seriously, but like also you should be able to paint your nails. So I'm going to defend you a little bit here.
Here's what you do. You say, hey, boyfriend, could you go to Starbucks and get me some tea?
Yeah.
Paint your nails while he's gone.
Fucking genius.
Worked for us for years.
Our relationship, and look where we are now.
I can't believe we made it. All right, Cristine, and last one. Mm-hmm. Am I the asshole for asking Cristine for a Holo Taco sneak peek?
You don't even have to ask.
It's been there the whole time.
It's been there the whole time. Actually, I've been wearing this manicure for weeks. I said nothing until now. You are not an asshole. I am the asshole. Am I the asshole?
For what?
For hiding nail polish for weeks.
Yes. According to
all the comments. Yeah. Yes, Cristine.
Tell us
a month earlier.
All right, Cristine.
There is a Holo Taco lunch coming. You know. If you know, you know.
It's this weekend, right?
I don't know.
Hasn't it already been announced by the time this goes up on Tuesday?
Nope.
No?
No. I guess we just announced it.
Okay.
Whatever. It's fine.
It's 100. You deserve it.
Listening
100. To the end, you deserve it.
Listening to the end?
If someone's made it this far.
Oh, yes.
100 episodes in, an hour into an episode.
Have you
still listening?
To or watched every single episode? I say this as if there's a poll floating around.
Yeah.
No, but like people listening. I just want to know.
I listen to all of them except the quizzes.
You participate in them, Ben, and you help produce them, so you listen to everything. All right. Is there anything else we have to thank people? Yes. We should thank people for their participation, for their support. What do you mean for what? No, I need a new co-host for episode 101.
Are we going to keep doing this, or is this the end?
No. No, man.
Oh, we got to mix it up, though. Just got to mix it. Like, I just want to flip the table.
What?
You know, maybe...
we'll be on the ceiling in the next episode.
Yeah. Maybe we just mix it up a little.
Maybe we just invert the colors.
Kind of smells like nail polish in here all the time.
What if I just invert the colors
Maybe
in
we need
post?
to open a window. Yeah.
Well, we do want to say a big thank you to everyone who has listened or watched thus far for 100 episodes. It's kind of like all of us can collectively reflect on the last 2 years of life.
Is that a good thing?
Because I think back to our first episode in February 2020, where I think it was titled "Why We Took a Break from YouTube."
The first podcast, yeah, because
which we are still kind of doing in a different way.
I mean, we're doing stuff all the time now,
Yeah.
but yeah, your main channel obviously is quiet.
Yeah, and I remember people interpreting that as like I took a meaningful break, but like that was never true. I never took like a meaningful break off of any work.
Still waiting for that vacation.
It was replaced by different work, and that's kind of just my life story.
Mm-hmm.
So,
but you enjoy your work.
I enjoy what I'm doing, and I hope that that's what people understand. And I know there's always questions like, why aren't you posting videos? And I feel like some of them are, like, I don't want to be too negative, but some of them do come from like a negative tone, like as if I'm like lazy.
I don't think anyone listening to this.
Well, no, it's the people who don't listen to our podcast or watch
just
my
watching
streams
the comments.
who
Just reading
who just read comments,
Yeah.
who write more like accusatory style messages of me being like lazy or think I'm rich now, so I don't need to make videos. I'm like, okay, thank you for that.
I mean, we
interpretation.
don't need to make videos. That's true.
We don't need to do this podcast either, but
This
we
is true.
like doing it.
We do.
I don't need to stream twice a week.
And you're right. I've been a little flippant, but yeah, it is meaningful. I try not to look at comments and stuff too much because I think it's easy to get hung up on that. But yeah, when I do, and I see the stuff from people about how they say like I listen every week or it really helps me get through my commute to work and things like that, that is really meaningful to hear. And I wasn't kidding before. Like there were times we wondered like, should we just wrap up the podcast since it couldn't be what we sort of originally thought it was, or more about traveling or having guests and things. But yeah, seeing comments from people about how it is useful to them or helps them or how much they enjoy it.
They enjoy your
is
voice.
the reason why we're still doing it.
They like Ben's.
Is that a
You
compliment?
Like Ben's
People
voice.
talk about my voice putting them
do.
to sleep. Is that a good thing?
Yes.
Careful.
It's so soothing.
Just put a disclaimer in the car if you're listening to this.
Be careful. You may veer.
Yeah. So yeah, thank you for listening if you've made it this far.
I've also noticed people's comments, especially given COVID, that having Taco Tuesday helped add structure to their listening schedule or their lives. They just like remember it's Tuesday because it's Taco Tuesday with SimplyPodLogical. So just hearing little comments like that always makes us super happy and inspired to, keep doing what we do because we like it, and hearing that you guys enjoy it and that it means something to you, even if we're doing a stupid quiz or if we're doing something more serious. It
gives structure
fun.
to our lives too.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, chaos.
Gives me an excuse to have tacos
Every Tuesday.
Every Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know what came up recently? We're talking to some project management team with Holo Taco, and it came up that Cristine and I haven't eaten Taco Bell like since we were maybe teenagers.
Well, it's not common here.
Yeah, there aren't many Taco Bells in Ottawa anyway. I think maybe in Canada in general, I don't think Taco Bell is a very common fast food.
It didn't really take off, yeah.
What about Podcast 101? Trying the entire Taco Bell menu.
That's called a mukbang, and no.
No, you know, just eating into the mic.
You can do that on Nintendo.
It's better than a quiz. I'd rather hear chewing than another quiz.
No, Ben's like objectively wrong.
There you go. We don't agree on everything.
Yeah, but we'll be back for episode 101.
Yes.
With a topic to be determined because we decide every Friday.
Yeah, we'll decide 2 days before.
That is the truth. I mean, not always. Sometimes we know 2 weeks in advance because we know that there's a topic. But, we're kind of like, whatever. We don't got there's no boss. We are the boss. We can decide what we want to film when. And, I prefer it that way.
Let's keep it loosey-goosey. All right, thanks to everyone for tuning in.
Yeah, we hope you have a wonderful Taco Tuesday for the 100th time.
Yes.
I'm so happy and proud of us. Thank you, Ben. Thank you, co-host.
Thank you
for doing
Simply.
this with me and for withstanding me for this long.
It's easy.
In this format.
You make it easy, Simply.
Okay, you're just being nice because like an hour ago you said that it got annoying at around episode 50.
Just forget about
just
that.
talking to each other, it's annoying. All right, everyone.
We'll see you next Taco Tuesday.
See y'all later. Bye.
Bye.